Funkle's Customs, where I find all kinds of cars in different places. I usually fix them and flip them, but sometimes I keep them. This is My Garage Revivals.
Over the weekend, I took the offer Richard made on the 57 Bel Air and I went to drop it off at his shop for him. Hello everybody and welcome back to My Garage Revivals. Right, so it's Monday morning, very bright and early. We're gonna start this week with a bang. We've got a couple of things happening today. So as you may know, we have sold the 57 Bel Air for $500,000 as Richard has offered. So that car is gone and I sure do miss it a little bit. So yeah, this morning we are going to start by basically working on the BMW, or continuing work on the BMW rather. So we've got a couple of things happening. We've got to get the suspension put back together, obviously. So we did take this apart on Friday, and over the weekend I was able to order a bunch of new parts. So obviously some of these parts are the old parts as well. So we're going to be using that because they are still in very good condition. So we just ordered a bunch of new stuff and stuff we need to replace. So we're also going to do brand new brakes for the front. We've got the old calipers at the back. We've got some new brake discs for the rear, and we've got the old brake discs for the front. So yeah, we're going to be hopefully putting the suspension back together, and I've also got some new wheels for the BMW. So these are the ones I'm going with, these BBS wheels. So we're going to see how they're going to fit the car. This isn't plastered in concrete yet. If they don't fit well, I will probably return them and get something else, but we're going to see how they fit. I think they will look very good on the car if they do fit well. So also we're going to be swapping the diesel engine, which I've been doing a little bit of work on over the weekend. I've stripped it down a little bit and see what is basically worn. So we've got good internals. I did pull the oil pan off and checked that already, so that is all fixed up and sorted still. At the back we've got basically the bad clutch that we took off, and we've got a brand new pressure plate also that we're going to be installing. And we're just going to be putting this thing back together, and then this engine will be going into our shop truck. Hence it's standing in the shop, because we're going to be pulling this engine out and the transmission, and then we'll be swapping it with a diesel transmission, which we've also got a 4-speed diesel transmission we're going to be using on this thing. And then we will put in a brand new 5-speed gearbox. Yes, I believe this is a 5-speed in the BMW, to have it run with the inline 6 engine from the truck over there. But I'm not done yet with this engine, because I'm also going to be swapping out some parts on it. Basically, you're going to swap the rockers, spark plugs, as well as the spark plug wires. We're going to do some other high performance parts just to give that car a little bit more power. So yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with the BMW, putting this thing back on its wheels, and then see if we can at least get it on its wheels again to make it a roller, and then we will get the engine in. Right, so let's lift this thing up nice and high. We're not going to struggle reaching anything here. Alright, so we are going to use some of the old parts. Obviously, like this cross member it's a little bit worn. Alright, so I might have to actually do this a little bit differently, because those lift arms are in the way. So let's just go down again. Alright, let's see. I think this should work. Alright, we just need to get this thing to mount. Alright, let's pull this arm away. There we go. Alright, let's see if it's going to go in now. So obviously this is a tricky bit, but once this is mounted, I think we are home free. Alright, so let's just be sure to tighten all 4 of these bolts. Alright, let's see. This side should be fine. That side we are very close to the edge. Let me just adjust it in a little bit more. Alright, let's go back up with this thing. Alright, so that should do. We've got it up nice and high. Alright, so yeah, I think let's start with the rear. because we already did a little bit of stuff on the back here. So I'm gonna get this brand new wheel. Well, I don't know what this thing's called. This is probably like a hub carrier for the rear. In my opinion, this is called a knuckle, because it's basically where everything comes together. Right, so I think those are all the bolts that we need to tighten down for now. We'll check everything in a bit. We've got a couple of these arms we need to replace on both sides. We've got one going up here. So let's just be sure to bolt everything down. I think there might be a bolt here that I need to check. Okay, so that is tight. Alright, and let's grab another one. I think the other one also goes on this side. It's supposed to be down here somewhere. Let me just figure out where this has to go. Right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so this one goes on the opposite side. Right, so we'll get it installed over here. Alright, so all of these are still nice and tight. We didn't even bother taking them off because they were still in very good condition. Alright, and then there's the one upper arm going over there. So that is sorted. Right, we're going to install our new lower control arm. So this will hopefully sort this car out for quite some time without having any further suspension issues. Right, so we've got brand new hubs for the rear, and we also got brand new hubs for the front, which we're going to be installing as well. Right, so let's quickly get our brake discs mounted at the back. Right, so there's the one. Let's grab the other one. Bolt it down. Perfect. Right, so I think next up we'll do the rear brakes while we are back here. Let's get some new brake hoses on these calipers. Just like that. And let's do the other hose on this one. Just like that. And our rear pads are these ones. Perfect. We've got 4 of those. We'll pop them in. And we'll do the same on that one. Great stuff. Alright, so now we are ready to mount these. This one is for the right hand side. Alright, so there we go. That is in position. Let's just bolt it down. And we'll grab this one as well for the left hand side. Bolt that down. Alright, so let's get our main brake line into position over here. And we are going to basically bolt down the hoses at the back for the time being. Alright, so let's see what else we've got for the back. We've got these half shafts or half axles we can get in. It's a little bit tricky once the whole thing is basically in the car, but yeah, we're just going to have to more or less guess where the bolts are. I think we've got all of those. And let's do the other one as well. Alright, so those are the half axles into place, and I think that is basically it for the rear. Let's just get the shocks in as well before I forget about these. Right, so bolt those down, and then obviously we've got our springs we need to put in. Alright, so there's the other shock absorber, and then let's grab our spring compressor. Right, so we've got a brand new spring for the one side, and we've got the old one which is still in very good condition. So we'll get this one installed on this side. And now let's just put this there for now. We'll grab one of the wheels, and let me just see how this is going to bolt down. It's probably just plain straightforward. And that doesn't look too bad. It actually looks like it's going to suit the car very well. Right, so I think what we can do is we're going to straight dive into the front suspension now. We've got our front shock absorbers. We'll get them mounted at the top for now. Alright, let's grab the other one. Alright, so there's the 2 shock absorbers in at the front. And let's grab our lower control arms, the brand new ones I've ordered. Let's get these installed. And let's grab the other one for the opposite side. Right, we'll do it like this. So that is nice and tight. And then we can do our hub carriers. We've got 2 hub carriers we can install. Right, so that goes there, and we've got a bolt over there just for now. And this is the old hub carrier from the front left. So we'll get this one back on the car. Bolt it down there and over there. Right, so next up, let's get our steering components, the steering box, steering arm, and the steering link, and also the tie rods installed. I think it's a little bit easier to do this when the engine is still out. Alright, and we've got our steering arm over here. So this goes over there. It's just got a 1 bolt at the top, or a nut at the top. And then we've got our steering link over here. Right, so this has to go between the 2, the steering box and the steering arm. We'll bolt it down there and also over there. Right, so let's grab our tie rods. Right, so this one goes on this side. Well, it doesn't really matter which one goes which side because they are interchangeable. Right, and the next one, we'll grab this one. And we'll come around to the passenger side, get that into position. And just make sure we tighten down the 2 nuts on that. So that is our steering basically sorted. Alright, so next up, let's do our hubs. Right, so there's the one hub. And we'll do the other one as well. Right, perfect. So now we can start working on the front brake parts. So let's grab our 2 discs over here. Alright, and bolt that down. We'll screw it down. We'll also grab this one. This is also one of the old parts. And there we go. So that is our front brake discs into position. Let's grab our calipers. Right, and get some pads for these, and we'll install the brake pads. Alright. It's sometimes a bit hard to get these things in. There we go. I think we've got them all in. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, so let's get our brake hoses on. And let's grab this one as well for this one. That goes over there. Right, so this one is for the front left. Right, let's be sure to bolt down the hoses as well. Just like that. And also the one for the passenger side, we'll do the same. Alright, last but not least, we're going to mount our springs, or our shock springs. We'll just get those installed. Alright, and let's grab the last one. There we go. Alright, so now what we can do is we can get the 4 wheels mounted, and then we can get this thing lowered down so we can do the master cylinder and all the wires and the battery. Alright, so let's be sure to bolt these nice and snug onto the car. Let's grab this one. I actually think these wheels are going to look very decent on this car. So yeah, I decided to go against the BMW M3 look. So we're going to basically do our own thing here and just make this car very decent and very reliable and looking a little bit better than what it currently is. Actually forgot to mention we did get the front bumper and the fog lights and all that as well. So we can also get that installed today. Alright, so we've got all 4 of the wheels on, and I think they actually look fairly decent. Alright, so there she is. She's sitting on her own 4 wheels. So these tires already have some air in them. So I'll just double check on the pressures maybe a little bit, but I think they should be good. Alright, and let's get these arms out of the way. Alright, so now we can start work on the engine bay again. We've got our main brake line. We can quickly get mounted. And we'll just bolt down the earth cable over there. And now I just need to get this brake master cylinder into position. Just like that. Alright, so these things are a little bit tricky to get through the bolts, but we should be able to do it from here. And let's not forget our main brake line at the bottom of it. So that is sorted. Alright, so next up, we basically need to start tackling other parts in the engine bay, but I think let's quickly do all the body work we've got. So we've got our front bumper that needs to go on. So let's get our front bumper closer. Alright, so we are going to need our welding machine for this, first of all, because we've got this missing front brace. So we'll put this on the car and then we'll just quickly weld that into place. Alright, so this is just being welded over there and also over there. And we also have got a weld we need to do on the cross member that came loose. So I think that should basically sort that out. Right, so there's our welding machine. We are done with this for now, so let's just grab our wrench again. Right, so now let's see if this front bumper wants to go on. Right, so it definitely goes on without a problem. And there should be some bolts under here somewhere to get this thing bolted down. I believe those are the ones. Yeah, that seems to do the job. Alright, so for the front bumper we also have got this splitter we're going to be fitting. That just snaps on, and then we've got the two fog lights. There's our one fog light on the passenger side. And let's grab the driver side fog light. Alright, so here we go. We've got our headlight for the passenger side, or for the driver side actually, that's missing, and as well as the blinker. So let's get the headlight screwed into place, because those are screwed in. They should have two screws at the top over here. So there's one and there's one. Right, then we'll get this one fitted as well. There should be a screw for this, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't look like there is. Okay, so that just pops in by the looks of it. Alright, so that is our front bumper mounted, and we only have the rear spoiler left, which is going to go on the trunk. But I suppose we can mount it. We just need to get rid of the rust on this thing as well, which I'm thinking we're going to maybe do it ourselves. We're going to see if we can get some bags of sand for the sandblaster and just sandblast this thing. We also have got a brand new rear window. Alright, but look at that wing. That is definitely suiting the car very well. Alright, let's put that wrench down for a second. And I just need to figure out how we're going to get that rear window out. I believe it should just be pried out, but I don't know what I did with my pry tool now. It's probably on the table over there somewhere where I used it. Yes, here it is. Alright, so let's get our pry tool and pop this broken windscreen out. Right, so this can go straight outside. We're just going to drop it here. I still have a bag of trash laying there. We'll have to sort that out maybe a little bit later as well. Alright, so now we've got our brand new rear windscreen, or rear window. So let me just grab this quickly, and we're going to pop this into place just like that. So we've got all of the windows in this car is basically in good condition now. We don't have any more worn parts like that that we need to take off. So this thing is actually starting to come together already very nicely, just by changing the wheels and adding the wing and the front bumper and the missing headlight and blinker. This is already starting to look like a car. So now I suppose The only thing that I really need to do with this thing is get a engine installed, which we do have. Got a very nice exhaust for it already as well. So let's grab our battery. Let's get our battery into place. And that way, once everything is connected up, we know that this thing should fire up. So obviously I did go and fill the jerry cans because we've got diesel in the one and we've got gasoline in the other. Alright, but yes, so now, as I said, we are going to be doing a diesel swap in our truck over here. So I think let's start by taking the old engine out first, because this needs to go into our BMW. So I'm just going to try and get the engine out first of all. We'll loosen this exhaust. And let's just put this exhaust somewhere. Alright, so we've got a replacement exhaust for when we put the diesel engine in this thing. Alright, let's go around this side. We're going to loosen all of the wiring over here. Actually, let's get this fuel line removed as well. That should still work on the diesel engine as well. And then we're going to remove this and our last bolt over here. And there is the engine for our BMW. We'll come over here and we'll put it into place. And by doing this, we should have transferred it successfully. And just make sure all the cables are into position. And we'll bolt everything down nice and snug. We've got some cables on this side as well, obviously for the starter, but we'll need to get the transmission fitted. So I think the easiest way to do this would be to just lift the car up. So I'm going to have to get these arms under the car again quickly, and then we'll lift it up again. Alright, so we are going up with the car. So there's one thing that I forgot actually to buy, and that was the missing transmission support, which I do not have at the moment yet. But that's fine, because we are just going to be putting this thing in to try and get it running at least today. We're not going to be driving the car just yet. So I'll be sure to get that transmission mount before we actually start driving this car. Alright, so let's bolt this transmission down. Just like that, and we'll get our starter bolt down as well. Right, so next up we've got a bunch of things for the engine bay, obviously, like the radiator. Still we need to install, so this is a brand new radiator. So the old one we had was leaking and it was looking very bad. So we've got a brand new radiator and hoses. So I think that should hopefully do the job to get this thing up and running. And now we can also get our fuel line attached. Alright, so this goes over there and we'll bolt it down on the fuel pump. Right, so now we need to actually go up again because we've got our drive shaft to install. So let's quickly do the drive shaft. Alright, so there's our drive shaft into position. Just bolt it down. And there, just like that. Alright, so now we can get our gas tank into position. And also our exhaust, obviously. So let's go and do the exhaust system. We'll get this into position first of all, and be sure to bolt those down. Perfect. And that is looking very decent. Right, so let's go down again. Right, so this is basically the last piece of the puzzle for now. So we're just gonna get the fuel tank installed. Alright, and over there, and there should be a bolt behind here somewhere. Alright, so I've got all of the fuel tank bolts mounted. And I believe everything should be installed. Let's just double check something. Did I get a handbrake cable for this thing? It does have a handbrake cable. Alright, so that's probably the old one. So we didn't have to replace that. Alright, but now what I want to do is I want to see if this thing will take some fluids, and then we're going to see if it's going to fire up. Obviously we don't have to put in any oil because the oil's still fine. So we just need to add some coolant, and some brake fluid. And then we should be able to try and move this thing to see if it actually works and runs under its own power. We still need to do the modifications to the engine, which we can also do. Luckily, we don't need to drain the oil for that, but let me quickly sort out the coolant and stuff like that. But before I do, let me just see. There's nothing really going to change, because obviously the parts we're going to be changing out aren't parts that needs to be disconnected for the fluids. There's just the valve cover and the air filter is coming off. So yeah, we should be good to fill up the coolant. So let me get this sorted out quickly. All right, so here we are. We've got the coolant topped off and we've got the brake fluid filled up. So I think we are basically ready to try and see if this thing does fire up now. And yeah, basically we just need to do a couple of parts we need to swap out on the engine. But first of all, let's get some gasoline in this tank first, because obviously this is a brand new gas tank. So let me grab this jerry can. So this is my gasoline. All right, and we're gonna just pour it down. All right, so that is the little bit of gasoline into the tank, and we're gonna put our fuel filler back, and let's see if this thing wants to fire up now. I hope everything will be fine on this engine. It still ran in the truck, so I don't think there's going to be any issues. Let's just get our handbrake up. Alright, so right on the money. Alright, let's see if it wants to move now. And brakes are good. Alright, so it's definitely working. So I still need to figure out what I'm going to do with this interior on the car. Because, yeah, I haven't got any idea yet what to do. But we'll see. Well, as I said, we are doing a little bit of a sporty or a racy look. So we'll see what we can get done. But now we're going to tackle some of those performance parts we've got over there on the table. So I think let's first of all take everything off that we do not want, or that we are going to be replacing. Alright, so there's our valve cover, first of all. So this is coming off, and we're going to be replacing it with a little bit of a nicer one, just a little bit more neutral to the car's design. And then we're going to firstly replace the rockers with these performance rockers. Right, so let's get the old ones removed. Right, so these are the old ones, and we're gonna get the new ones in. And let's bolt this down. Perfect, so now our valve cover can go back on. Right, so let's just be sure to tighten all these bolts. Alright, next up we're gonna do our air filter, carburetor, and yeah, obviously the performance parts will give us a little bit of a better look as well. Right, so there we go. That is the old air filter off. So we're going to replace the carburetor with this performance carburetor. So we've got some bolts over here. 4 bolts. Yeah, this is a little bit of a custom job. I don't think these cars actually came with carburetors. They were probably fuel injection. But as I said, we are doing our own thing. So there we go. Performance carburetor installed. And let's get our performance air filter base firstly installed. So there's the base. Let me grab the filter itself quickly. There's the air filter on. And let's grab our air filter cover. And let's zip it down just like that. Alright, so that is already starting to take shape. So let's get these old spark wires off. And we'll remove the old distributor. If I can just get to that bolt. There we go. Right, so there's the stock distributor. Alright, I think we can get this installed. Alright, so here's our brand new distributor. So let's get that bolted down. We're going to replace our ignition coil with a performance ignition coil. Alright, so that can come off. And then we've got our performance one over here. And then we're going to see if we can get this one mounted. Just like that. Alright, perfect. So that is our coil and distributor swapped out. Now let's grab our spark wrench. We are going to take out all of the old spark plugs from this engine. Right, so there we go. Let's loosen them all. Right, so those are all the spark plugs. And these should be fairly decent still, because the truck wasn't running too bad with this engine. Yeah, they are all pretty decent still. They were probably replaced all at once. Alright, so there we go. And let's grab the fifth one. Okay, and I dropped that. But that's okay. Alright, so this is the same condition as the rest. And the last one over here. Alright, let me just be sure to get this. It's a little bit hard to reach sometimes. Did I maybe not loosen that one? Let me just see. May have skipped that one. Alright, so this spark plug is a little bit stuck. Alright, so we got it. Okay, so we've got all the spark plugs out. And we've got our new spark plugs in these boxes. And we'll just grab this as well. We'll bring this closer. The new spark wires. Alright, and I believe there are 4 spark plugs in a box. So we need to take out a whole box and then 2 of these from the other box, which gives us 6 for our inline 6. Right, so there's the first one into position. We just do all of these. There's the second one. Right, the third one. That's the fourth one. Alright, so the fifth one and the last one is going to be probably the tricky one. Nah, not at all. Alright, let me zip these all down quick. Alright, so our spark plugs are all nice and snug. So we can get our plug wires installed. And that should conclude basically what we're going to be doing to this car for this episode. So now we just need to get this diesel engine fixed up. But I think let's give this thing another fire up and just see how it runs. I actually would be curious to see how well it will pull. But I really do want to get that transmission support mounted first before I do that. So once again, let's start it up. No problem at all. Well, it definitely feels a little bit more peppy. Alright, so this is definitely coming along very nicely. And we'll just park it here out of the way for now. Alright, so we are making very good progress on this car. As I said, I would like to do some of the body prep work myself on this one. So we are going to be sandblasting this thing a little bit and see if we can get rid of most of the rust. And then once we send it to paint, it's going to be a little bit of a quicker job for Richard and them to sort it out. But I think we definitely achieved quite a lot. This thing is basically mechanically sound now. It just needs a paint job and some rust removal and an interior, which I'm thinking of keeping to the whole racy look that we have got going here. Obviously door cards are non-existent, so not going to be getting any of those installed. But yes, in terms of the looks of the car with the little spoiler and the splitter at the front and these wheels, definitely sets the car off it might actually do it very well if we were to get some adjustable coilovers on this thing. We might actually consider that. I don't know. But it doesn't sit too high. It just, I think it sits right. Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's, as I said, it's not really supposed to be a race car. It's more like a sporty version. So I don't think having lowered suspension is a must for each and every car. Alright, so obviously I've got a bit of cleanup work to do in the shop after the camera has been turned off. So I think what I'm going to do is let me start working on this diesel engine. We'll clean up the shop afterwards, obviously. So let me get the clutch mounted to this diesel engine. Because I think this was the problem why the BMW wasn't running too great, because of the clutch that was completely shot on this. Alright, so for this engine we've got a brand new one of these, because the old one I took off was very rusty. So we've got a new camshaft sprocket going in, obviously. So let's bolt that down. And then we've got a bunch of stuff we just need to replace back onto this engine. So obviously the valve cover will cover that up again. Alright, and let's get this valve cover bolted down again. And I must say this engine actually cleaned up very nicely. It's still a little bit of grimy down here, but it does look much better than it was. So we'll definitely stick with that. And we've got our oil filter housing over here. We're going to just put that back into place. The filter inside is still very good. And we'll get our air filter back into place. So this just pops into over there. We'll snap on our brand new cover. Alright, and then we've got our new headers over here. So these go on this side. So obviously the old ones were a little bit rusty, as you could see on the table over there. Where did I put this actually? Oh, it's on the floor. Okay, so there are the old ones. So we are replacing it with brand new headers. And that'll hopefully stop the exhaust from leaking as much as it did. And we also have got these parts mounted already, so they are good to go. Right, so now we just need to get this engine put back together. We've got our timing cover and also fuel lines and some nitty-gritty belt tensioner stuff. And yeah, I think that'll basically get this thing put back together. Right, so let me grab this cover. Snap it onto there for now, and then we're gonna make sure we secure it with all the bolts. So these are a little bit tricky to get to, but yeah, it's definitely not impossible. Right, so that's our valve cover, well, our timing cover back on. So we are good to continue. We've got our drive shaft pulley or crankshaft pulley. Get that installed. Let's grab our belt. And then we'll put on the belt tensioner, obviously. And there we go. We've got the belt tensioner on. So now we just need to get our alternator and stuff like that mounted. So we've got the alternator bracket over here. So this goes over here, and we'll just bolt that down. And then we've got our alternator. Let's grab the alternator, slide it in over there, and just bolt it down. Perfect. And last but not least, our cooling fan goes on the front. Obviously we also need to still get these fuel lines on, so they should be straightforward, and we'll just bolt them all down over there, and the last one is over there. Perfect. Alright, so we managed to get this engine put together, and now we just need to get it in the truck and see if we can get this truck up and running. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to firstly lift this thing up. We're going to do the transmission swap first. So let's get these bolts removed. Alright, then we'll go down again. Alright, so there's our old transmission. So now we've got a spare transmission once again. Alright, so we're going to be replacing that with the diesel transmission over here, which is also a 4-speed. Alright, so let's take this thing back up again. And then we'll just come under here and make sure we get all of these bolts tightened down. Alright, so that one is good. And there we go, that's our brand new transmission. Or not really new, but new to this truck. Alright, and then let's grab the engine. So this is our diesel engine going into this truck. So this is a non-diesel, non-turbo diesel. So it's not going to have the power that the Ram truck has got, obviously, but it's definitely going to be a little bit more suitable for our truck. And we've got a couple of bolts on the gearbox, one over there, and there should be one down here, which we should be able to reach without a problem. And then we'll go around to this side. We've got our bolt over here and one on the alternator. And there should also be a bolt down here and over there, which is good. We've already got that one. All right, perfect. Now we've got our fuel line. So I usually struggle to find the fuel line's bolt, but in this case it's a little bit easier to figure it out. So there we go, there's our fuel line in place. And now we just need to mount the correct exhaust system, which is this one. Right, so there's our exhaust into place. It's just bolted down. Perfect. And that is basically this truck sorted. Now it's just some fluids, and then we're going to be able to try and fire this thing up and see if it runs and if it will drive. So yeah, let's quickly open all of these caps, and I'll bring you guys back up to speed once this is all sorted out. Alright, so we are good. Our oil is topped off. We've got coolant in the radiator as well. Let me just get this dipstick back into place. Alright, so let's see if this thing is going to fire up. So I'm pretty sure it will, because this engine was running quite well. And we didn't really do much to the engine except service it a bit. I've got a little bit of wheel alignment issues on this wheel, which I'm going to sort out. So that happened over the weekend sometime. I don't know exactly what happened. It seems to be, yeah, doing that a little bit. But we'll figure out what's going on with that camber on that wheel. But we've got our glow plug light on. It just went off. And obviously we are out of fuel, because I haven't installed the proper fuel in this thing. So we are going to quickly have to drain our fuel tank. So I'm going to try and put it into the BMW. I'm not sure how successful I'm going to be in doing that. So we're going to give it our best shot. So we're going to put our gas tank down on the floor. And let's remove the cap. I think like that. Then we'll go over to the BMW. We are going to remove the fuel cap from this. Let's get that open as well. Let's bring our gas tank over. Alright, so we are busy pouring the gas from our truck into the BMW over here. So I'm not sure how much of this fuel will go in, but we've got a little bit in at least, and this should be empty now. So we'll put the fuel cap back on the BMW, and let's just double check if there's any more fuel in here. Don't think there's going to be anything else coming out of this. Yeah, that is completely empty. Alright, so now we can get our gas tank fitted back onto the truck. Alright, our gas tank is back into place. Let's just bolt down that quickly. And then we will grab some diesel from our jerry can, I think. What I should actually do is go and see if the pizza place has got any of that used vegetable oil left. So let's quickly have a walk over here and just see if they've got any of those bottles available. So I didn't want to take a chance with the ramp truck to do this. So let's grab one of these. I only ask $12 for this, so we'll try this and hopefully this will work. Worst case scenario is we have to drain the tank again. So we'll give this a shot. And hopefully if this works, we can start buying diesel a little bit cheaper here from the pizza place. Alright, so here's our vegetable fat. Let's pop this cap off. I believe we should be able to get this cap off, or maybe it'll start pouring once we tip it. So let's try this. Alright, it's definitely going in. Not sure if this is going to give us a full tank, because this doesn't look like it's going to be a full tank. Maybe a half tank. Alright, so now we've got some vegetable oil in our tank. Alright, and then let's jump in and see if this thing is going to fire up. Alright, so there we go. We've got our glow plug on, and now it's off. And the truck started up, no problem. Alright, so it does actually run on vegetable fat. Alright, so and the truck moves, it drives, it goes into reverse, no problem. And obviously I just need to have a look at that front right suspension, because obviously when I lifted it up and put it down, something went wrong. So I'll definitely sort that out before I start driving this thing again. But I think, yeah, we are basically done for this episode. So thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate every view, every like. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. I will appreciate it very much. But yes, until the next time, cheerio.